Hi, boys and girls. It's Miss Dionne from the Chicago Park District. Yeah, I was here because it's autumn and it's one of my favorite times of the year because there's so many things you can do. You can dress up in fun costumes. You can go picking apples at the apple orchard. You can watch the leaves fall from the trees, and they have so many beautiful colors. There's yellow, there's orange, there's gold, there's brown, there's red. Yeah. Drinking apple cider, cutting up against a fire is one of my favorite times. But one of the reasons why it's also a cool time of the year is because you can tell spooky and scary stories. Well, anyway, today I have a story for you today. It's called Two Heads. Are you ready? Okay, so one day a taxi driver received a phone call that he was to pick up a passenger from a hotel that was in the center of town. No problem. The passenger wanted to be transported from the hotel to the airport. When the taxi driver got there, the passenger didn't even come downstairs for at least an hour and had him waiting. And when the passenger finally did arrive, he was carrying two heavy and large bags. Well, the taxi driver got out the car so he could help him with the bags because that's what he does. But the passenger refused any help and said he'll do it himself. And that's when the taxi driver noticed a smell. A stench of rotting decay, and it was coming from the bags. So it was fine. The passenger put the items in the trunk of the car, and they started on their way. The taxi driver followed the route towards the airport, and his suspicious passenger sat in the back, and he kept turning around and looking behind his shoulder at the trunk or whatever was back there. And yes, you could smell the smell of rot and decay. After a while, the suspicious passenger said, "Could you stop for a moment so I can make a phone call?" And he got out of the car and went and made a phone call. And the taxi driver waited in the car patiently, and it was still smelling. And you could smell the stench. It was unmistakable, decomposition, and it was horrible. The nervous passenger returned back and got into the car. And the driver looked at him in the rearview mirror and noticed that the passenger was eyeing him suspiciously. By that time, they reached the airport. And when they got to the airport, the passenger said, "Hold on one second, wait for me. I might have missed my plane by now. Just wait for me for a little bit, please, and I'll come back if I missed my plane." So the taxi driver waited. And he was there for a few minutes, and he realized that the passenger had forgotten to take his two bags with him. They were still in the in the trunk of the car. And the smell was becoming so bad and so terrible that people that were walking by were turning and looking, and they were holding their nose. And he realized that the passenger might not be returning back to the taxi cab. Okay, so he decided he needed to find out what was inside of the trunk of his car. What was inside of those bags? So he got up, he went to the trunk, he opened it up, and he reached down, and the smell was unbearable. With trembling hands, he opened up the bag, and he found inside two rotting heads. A head of lettuce and a head of cauliflower. Isn't that a scary but funny story? A head of lettuce and a head of cauliflower. So, stories don't have to be super creepy. They could be kind of fun too. And I wanted to thank you for joining me for another story. And as always, remember, there's always time for one story. See you next time.